All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something called FemTech. It's this huge, booming industry of apps and devices all focused on women's health. And look, the promise is massive, to completely revolutionize care that's been pushed to the side for, well, decades. But here's the catch. Is all this progress coming with a hidden price tag? Let's get into it.
So on one hand, you've got this multi-billion-dollar juggernaut. It's pouring money, innovation, and resources into health issues that have been seriously ignored for way too long. The promise? Nothing short of a total revolution in how we approach women's health.
But, and this is a big but, here's the flip side. To make this whole revolution happen, these apps and devices are collecting some of our most personal, most intimate data, which brings us to the core question of this entire explainer. Are we actually trading our privacy for all this progress?
All right, Section 1, a revolution for women's health? So let's start at the beginning. What even is FemTech? And more importantly, why did it suddenly become so necessary?
So the word FemTech itself is actually really new. It was only coined back in 2016 by an entrepreneur named Ida Tin, who founded a period tracking app. And since then, it's just exploded. It's become this catch-all term for, well, everything. We're talking apps, software, diagnostic tools, connected devices, you name it, as long as it's focused on women's health.
And believe me, the need for this stuff is very, very real. For decades, literally decades, women's health has just been systematically under-researched, misunderstood, and frankly dismissed. This massive history of neglect created these huge gaps in care. And it's exactly those gaps that FemTech entrepreneurs are now racing to fill.
Okay, Section 2, the trillion-dollar boom. And when I say racing, I am not kidding. The growth in this space has been absolutely explosive.
Just take a look at the numbers. By 2025, which is right around the corner, the market is projected to hit almost $47 billion. That's billion with a B. But wait, it gets crazier. That's just the start. Fast forward to 2034, and that number is expected to completely blow past the $100 billion mark. The scale here is just staggering, and you can see the money just pouring in to make this a reality. Back in 2020, investor funding more than doubled. It shot up 105% in a single year. That tells you everything you need to know about how much confidence investors have in this market.
Now, it's really important to get this. We're not just talking about period trackers here. I mean, that's where a lot of it started, but the FemTech umbrella is huge now. It covers everything: wearable devices, diagnostic tools, telehealth platforms, and even brand new solutions for really big life stages like pregnancy and menopause.
Okay, Section 3, your data, their business. So all this growth, all this money, it's exciting, right? But it comes with a massive catch. This entire engine of innovation is being fueled by our most personal, private information.
And this quote from a user in the study it nails it. The information we put into these apps, we see it as incredibly sensitive, deeply personal. The last thing we want is for it to be shared. But as it turns out, sharing is often exactly what's happening behind the scenes. So, who's actually getting this data? Well, a study looked into the top female health apps and found some, let's say, very familiar names. You can see right here that trackers from companies like Google and Meta are all over the place. That means your health data becomes a really important part of their business model. And look, this isn't just a few bad apples. We're talking about a staggering 95%. 95% of the most popular female health apps contain these third-party trackers. Just let that sink in for a second. The huge majority of them are literally designed to send your data to other companies, and a lot of the time, you'd have no idea it's even happening.
So you might be thinking, okay, but maybe they need all that data for the app to work, right? Well, researchers looked into that, and a technical analysis found that 43% of the permissions these apps ask for have absolutely nothing to do with what the app is supposed to do. That's almost half the data they're grabbing, for no clear reason that benefits you, the user. Okay, moving on to Section 4, leaving women behind. So data privacy is a huge issue. We've established that. But there's another equally big problem here. This so-called revolution isn't for everyone. In fact, some argue it's creating a brand new kind of gap in equality.
Researchers actually have a pretty blunt name for this problem. They call it bikini medicine. And the term basically calls out the industry's super narrow focus on reproductive health, the areas a bikini would cover, while often completely ignoring a whole host of other critical health issues that women deal with all through their lives.
And this really narrow approach creates this huge, stark divide. You can see it here. On one side, you have what FemTech is obsessed with: pregnancy, nursing, fertility. But on the other side, you have what some people are calling the forgotten 50%. We're talking about massive, critical conditions like menopause, osteoporosis, even heart disease, all of which get way less attention and way less funding.
This tunnel vision means a lot of people are just left behind. And this quote from researchers really sums it up perfectly. The industry, as it is now, is often geared toward health-literate, socioeconomically privileged, and relatively healthy white cis women. The danger there? It just makes the health inequalities that already exist even worse.
And look, these are not just abstract theoretical problems. Research from the World Health Organization lays out the very real, very concrete barriers that stop people from accessing this tech. We're talking about everything from financial issues to simply not owning a smartphone, all the way to really serious patient-related factors like a partner actually denying someone access to their own phone. These are deep, systemic problems that the current FemTech model just isn't designed to fix.
All right, final section, number 5, the future of FemTech. So after all that, how does the industry fix this mess? How can FemTech actually deliver on its incredible promise without just repeating the same old mistakes? Well, let's look at what a better path forward could look like.
Experts have actually laid out a pretty clear 3-step framework for building a better FemTech. First, you have to include diverse communities in the design process right from the very beginning. Second, the whole thing needs to be person-centered, which means focusing on what users actually need and value, not just on profits. And finally, the industry has to proactively work to advance health equity for everyone, not just for a select privileged few.
Look, the potential here is absolutely undeniable. FemTech really could transform women's health for the better. But in the end, it all boils down to a single choice. Is this industry going to be designed for genuine empowerment for all women, or is it going to be designed for profit for a select few? The answer to that question is going to define the future of health for millions and millions of people.